Okay, I'm gonna do the second part of the history of Tantalar. I ended my last session with talking briefly about what caused the second age to happen. Both the first age and the second age the first age is when I plan to do D&D adventures. It's a very good age to have adventures in because of all the political and military stuff going on that many of these kings and people trying to establish a kingdom would hire a group of adventurers to do stuff for them. And there's also exploring all the ruins from the kingdoms before the Age of Darkness. Well, anyway, the Second Age. The Southern Pact was formed. Many kingdoms, most of the fighting's quelled down. Most of the big kingdoms, especially Mid-Realm, the biggest kingdom in the south in the Pact, enforced the council's rule, so kind of was a slight thing like kind of Arcane Kingdom did before during the Age of Creation, where their power pretty much enforced it, but they did not work that good at it. Still, people would fight among each other, and there was constant border skirmishes and stuff like that, especially in the collective. What do I actually call it? It's these bunch of kingdoms that were around the Dwarven Stone Mountains. It's a bunch of really small kingdoms. It's a collective, or call it, collective kingdoms of the south. There was many, especially the Trade Kingdom, which was run by a bunch of merchants, lords, very powerful merchants who operated out of their home city of Bazaar, which was one of the most prominent outside of Midgard, the capital of Mid-Realm. Was one of the big trade cities. And therefore, they were really powerful. In fact, during the Second Age, they at the beginning they actually destroyed a kingdom, took over a kingdom, the Kingdom of the White Plains, and they assassinated the family to their belief, and took over it and kicked all of the original people in the kingdom out. And if they didn't, they were killed. Either killed or kicked out, banished the original citizens of that kingdom, the Kingdom of White Plains, and gave it to their people who worked for them. And of course, the other kingdoms called it horrible and denounced them, but really did nothing else to do to them, as they were very affluent in their trade businesses. Was very important, and they couldn't really suffer actual doing embargoes and other stuff, sanctions. So they pretty much got away with it scot-free. Also during the Second Age was first appearance of Devados. He's a mysterious figure. Appeared human, although he would later appear all throughout history after that point. He generally popped up at times where ascendants would appear, and it seemed he declared that he was basically watching out for mortals, that he was sick of how the gods would use the material realm as their chessboard to play their games on, and he basically was kind of a counter agent for that. He would work toward just keeping them off, and no matter if they were good or evil, he would just be like, as long as if they got too involved in the material realm, he would be there to kick them out, because ascendants don't actually go to the material plane. They kind of have a fake body. It's a body and mana, so if they destroy the body, they're sent back to their realm unharmed, pretty much. I'll probably discuss it a little more, because it's not totally unharmed. There is some slight side effects from being killed. It's actually important towards one of my other prominent characters in the world, which I'll talk about later. He doesn't show up until the 4th age. Well, anyway, so Devada shows up. And, also, during they didn't form their own kingdom during the first age, or after the Age of Darkness, but the Academy is reformed. They don't call themselves the Academy of Arcane Studies, they just call themselves the Academy now, and didn't focus so much on magic because they kind of wanted to get away from that. And it had a negative stereotype ever since Novan rose to the north. Magic was kind of a little frowned upon, but there was different groups that wanted to recreate the Arcane Kingdom. One was up in the north. One kingdom was taken over by or city was taken over by Mazlil. Was taken over by a group of mages. A good-sized group of mages. But the people really didn't object to them because they were pretty much able to protect them and provide as much as the Arcane Kingdom did before. One of Mazlil's prominent things, though, was that all the mages created gold for them as a guardian/servant kind of thing going on. And basically the quality of the gold, like you created when you were a child. As you got older, you would improve it to make it better and bigger and stronger and shiny and stuff like that. And the quality of gold would show your status in society. And eventually, this happened in the first age with Mazlil. By the second age, like a whole ton of generations had happened. A few generations had happened. And pretty much they phased into pretty much everyone became a mage in Mazlil. Everyone had a goal and everything, and they pretty much shut everyone else out. Mazlil didn't trade with anyone. They were totally self-sufficient, self-reliant, and would not really talk to any of the other northern kingdoms up there. The other one that was in the south was the Council of the Cowled. These mages were very heavy-handed, very forceful. They wanted to. They got a small amount of land, and they collected Kingdom of the Cowled, but they weren't happy about it. And they constantly were scheming and stuff like that to try to expand their growth to be a more prominent thing, while not even taking care of the land they even had. The Kingdom of the Cowled was one of the worst maintained ruled kingdoms in most of history. They took a part of it out, floating land in the castle, and they built a giant fortress on top of it, which would float around the Southern Pact. Although many kingdoms would tell them to get the hell out because they didn't like it. But they were pretty powerful mages. Really, besides, I guess most people wouldn't really do much about it. That pretty much happened during the second age mostly when they got the land. And then kind of thinking what I want to say more about the second age before I kind of move toward the end of it and explain another part of the character. But he's one of my mortal characters. I don't know if it's a bad thing, but I have a lot of mortal kind of characters in my stories. But it's not like they take immortal for granted. Honestly, they see it as best a duty. Their immortality is given to them because they have an eternal duty to do something like the goddess his protection around from the gods and their ascendants meddling with the world. Now the world, since he has a curse, as one of the characters near, he was human. He followed one of the demon lords cults originally, but he the cult's his mission was to kill actually one of his friends who became a priest of Solomon. And when he realized it was his friend, he refused. And the demon lord took actual notice because he is he won't let someone who refuse or denies or disobey him go away unpunished. So he actually showed up to the guy in front of him with his friend as he was refusing to kill him, and he was going to kill him to make a statement, but he couldn't because he was in that temple of Saul by the priest of Saul, and along with his friend. But so what he ended up doing was cursing Blackfeet. Well, he wasn't Blackfeet at the time, but he cursed him and gave him a demon's body. He said, "Well, if you, since you, I can't think of how to phrase it. I had a good phrase for it. It's really basically you wanted to be a demon. Well, I'll give you the gift of being a demon." And changed his body into a demon's body, although his soul is still human. He didn't do a full transformation. It was basically a physical transformation, not a full soul transformation into an ascendant. So, him, the demon lord, doing this, actually, his friend attacked him in the process of the curse, and he was struck down by the demon lord. And he was struck down, and his now at this point, Devados showed him, and Devados was able to defeat the demon. Although he was too late to stop the curse. He, his friend of Black Veneer, asked Devados to help his friend, and Devados placed the priest's soul into a sword and gave to Black Veneer, which would be his conscience to help guide him with not becoming a full-fledged demon, because he was afraid that the body would taint him. And Devados also helped Black Veneer by placing these runes all over Black Veneer's body that would make him look human. But he can slowly release the power of the runes to take the demon's form. Although it was very dangerous because the runes, when they came back, when you put it back on, it would burn. It would burn and hurt a lot. So it was kind of you can go demon, but there's going to be a lot of pain afterwards. So, Black Veneer was a prominent character, and originally he was kind of just reclusive and didn't really do much until later. Who else? Well, that's later. Okay. Well, I guess I'm going to go into this robot near the end of the Second Age. Person named Luca, who never really much amounted to something. His father died when he was young, and he had to support his mother most of the time. His mother died too when he was about 20, and he kind of traveled around doing odd jobs. What happened was one time, one of the villages, he was doing an odd job on the way to that village. found out about a goblin raid. He came across some goblins who were talking about what they what the goblins had actually were doing, where they were talking to someone who had betrayed them by giving the information to the village, like the guards and whatnot, and then they won't be stationed to the goblins so they could get in. And then Ginker had originally told the garrison about this, and the garrison didn't believe him. And they didn't think anyone would be that stupid to relate to goblins and tell them this. So Ginker took it upon himself to defend the village, and he actually successfully defended the village through arming the villagers and setting traps and stuff like that. That he learned through his many different jobs he had done, that they were able to stop the goblin raid without anyone dying. And people heard about this, and that this guy he was protecting people when no one else would. He said, when people asked him, he said someone has to arm people and be the people's army. People like this, and they started following him and asking him to use more strength and asking to help him with defending stuff. And it grew into a force known as the People's Army. And originally, it was mostly an unaffiliated, non-political military force that would go around and just protect villages from who the kingdom neglected to protect from. So it was increasingly popular across Southern Pack, people joining it. And eventually, Krat got arrested for having a military force on the kingdom's land. They were afraid of it, and he was stood trial before the Southern Pack, and they tried to accuse him of this stuff. And the people who had joined him, the church, many villagers all united behind him. And they were facing basically if they were going to execute King Krat for wielding force. They would face rebellion across all this Pack for doing so because of how popular he had become. So they instead decided that he would become the People's Army would become the Southern Council's army, that he would answer to them, not to any kingdom in particular, but just to the council. And the movements of the council were all pretty much used autonomous. He could do what he wanted, and as long as he didn't try to take over. He continued to do what he would do before with defending people from the darker and subhumans and stuff like that would attack it. But he got his first real when a knight went to the White Plains, where the king of the White Plains used to be, and had a girl with him who he claimed was heir to the kingdom, and that all the people on the White Plains should gather and reclaim their land. And they did. And they all squatted on their lands, and then the merchant lords wouldn't have none of this, and they organized an army, and they actually petitioned some Pack to have the people's army get involved. And King Krat agreed, but not to help the merchant lords, but to kind of make us diplomatic, to be a mediating force. And this certain period, the merchant lords were like, they are taking our land, and King Krat said that if the person had proof, if there was undeniable proof that this was actually the rightful heir of the White kingdom, the kingdom of plants, then they deserve that land. That was kind of a conundrum because they have no real way to prove it. There was one way to prove it, which was this mirror that when a true hearer touched it, it would speak of the history of the lands and declare them the rightful heir. It was a magical gift, the fairest of it. But this mirror was never to be found and was lost in destruction and presumed destroyed. Well, during this negotiations and squabble over it, the King Correct met this wizard. She wasn't a girl, but a woman. She was the magical advisor, the merchant. The merchant lord who was directly in charge. Who owned the land of the White Plains. And they kind of got friendly with her. And she kind of liked him. And she found out through eavesdropping on her merchant lord that he actually had the mirror that was needed to prove it. He told Ginkarak couldn't really do anything. He couldn't move his army on it because then they would be exposed and probably destroy the mirror. So he sent. So at this point, he had actually met Devados at one point, and Devados seems to be everywhere. So Ginkarak quietly summoned him and asked him for his help. Devados he didn't really care. It just more politics and sort of matter long term. But he knew about Black Veneer, and Black Veneer doesn't really do anything. He was being just mopey, so he told Ginkarak, and he got Black Veneer involved in this to help out the girl, the lady, the advisor, to go in and sneak in and get the mirror so we could prove it. And they managed to do it with the help of another person who had signed up with the People's Army, who had been really good at stability and being who had been before having kind of a fence, but he was kind of touched with Ginkarak's conviction and belief that when he saw him on trial, that he actually joined the People's Army. Through his connections, he helped Black Veneer and Wizard Lady manage to sneak in and get the mirror, and with it they were able to prove it. Whereas the merchant lord had bribed some people to actually start an attack with the White Flame people, looking like they did it. And the People's Army had to move in and quell it. They eventually got a mirror to them and proved that it should have been the land, and the merchant lord was forced to, by the council's ruling, was forced to give up the land back to the kingdom of the White Plains and all those people who were part of it, although they were like report dependent descendants of the original people who owned the land. And at that point, Ginkarak, the agents of the People's Army, with the fence being the leader of that group, kind of a subdivision within People's Army, which was for handling situations the army couldn't handle, that situations where they would need a small group to go in. And Black Veneer joined it along with the Wizard Lady, although the Wizard Lady, as you can tell, I haven't even named her yet. She became romantically involved with King Crab. Although that wasn't made to last. The guy in the sand she took up interest with the wizard lady and decided that she would be here, that she would bear his child, and raped her. Although she didn't, it was akin to a dream, and such a horrible experience that she didn't even know it was real. Anyway, it took, and she became pregnant. And when the pregnancy got close, the cultists and people, followers of the god Insanity, snuck into her place and kidnapped her so that she would be at the temple. And Devatos got involved because this was the law of God. And having to hear how Messiah would spread his touch to the world more. So he helped King Crab find the place, and King Crab, Blackfear, and Devatos siege the temple. Although they were too late to save the wizard lady, Devatos was able to stop the god Insanity from taking. He banished him from the temple, along with Blackfear and slain all followers. Devatos then placed a rune on the child and the daughter, so that the father's influence, the god Insanity's influence, would be diminished, and she would be seen in the premature child. Okay. Immortal. Due to being a demigod, although she wouldn't demonstrate her demigod powers due to it being locked away, was ultimately too destructive to be left unchecked. So she was taken and raised by King Crab as if it was his own daughter, and later became joined the agents of the People's Army, the agents of the people. That's what they call them, the agents of the people. I had a name for her, but I forgot it. Also, around that time, I need to talk a little more about the dwarves. I'll talk about them later. But the carrier of the ancients, wisdom of their forefathers, Tantalar, was banished from the Dwarven Kingdom at this point during the Second Age. And it kind of like slow decline in Dwarven society as the ancients of the wisdom of their forefathers, which was spoke directly to Tantalar, was lost. So they lost a lot of touch with their forefathers, a degradation of Dwarven society. Although Tantalar traveled the world, it was because of politics within his entire banishment that he wasn't really banished because of something really horrible. He just made it a lot horrible sounding when he did it. He forgot his weapon when he went on patrol, and he didn't think he needed it because he never wasn't happy. And his brother, shield brothers, were killed because they were attacked, and he went to go get his weapon. By the time he got back, they were all dead. They banished him for abandoning his duty, being reckless, and forget. And it wasn't, honestly, punishment was a lot worse. The crime was. So they suffered for it later. I'll talk about it at a later point. We're not looking at dwarven society anymore. Anyway, up in the north, sadly, I don't. The northern, for the most part, I don't do too much about. They mostly kick themselves for the most part. No really big events. Mostly focus on some impact. But north, the Stone Brotherhood, which were back in the Age of Exploration, there was a great fight over differences about how important the 5 families of the forefathers were, and that they shouldn't, the houses shouldn't rule the dwarves. That all the dwarves there should be some other kind of form of government. It was kind of a civil war that happened. Eventually, houses won. All the dwarves disagreed were banished to the north. And they became known as the Stone Brotherhood. That's backtracking all the way back to the Age of Exploration. But they formed a city, one of the great cities up north, Stonehold, was ran by, and they became the premier escort guards for caravans between the cities, along with neutral party between disputes and stuff like that. So that's kind of what happened. Anyway, the Second Age ended when sources informed King Krad that Cathar was returning. He was uniting. He was returning with a dragon. Some dragon that had somehow not been under the influence of the dragon soul and had not been put to sleep. And with that dragon, he had allied all the orcs, goblins, men who followed the dark gods, including the Bloodlords, 12 champions of Krator, who were the epitome of killing, although each one had their own method of killing, be it hand-to-hand, axe, swords, and other methods. There was a lot. He had allied them underneath him and was going to take over this impact, and then the north. Although he was going to instigate a rebellion up in the north to weaken the Stone Brotherhood and the other forces up there. And King Krad had this impact, although this impact did not really at first take his heed to his warnings as much as they should. He organized his people's army on the Outlands, which bordered the Spine World, the kingdom that bordered the Spine World, and were highly militaristic, and they would ready them as much as possible for this fight. But then he heard something really bad, that in fact Leo's god suffering had also added, and Cathar was giving him his blessing. So he was a lot more powerful than he was before. And this really, and Tabatos had to get involved, and actually, that was later. When his forces actually crossed into the Outlands, or Outer Lands, that's when the Third Age began. Third Age is pretty much the war between Separate Pact, led by King Krad, and the forces of evil led by Cathar's army. They were, because of the lack of forces, King Krat lost a lot of land. They were slowly being pushed back to the point where they had to do a final rout at the capital of the Allies called the Last Hope. But there, he was able to gather all of the Southern Pact's army, all the armies of the Southern Pact, along with Cleton had sent an army of the dead. This wasn't just like zombies and stuff. This was actually restless souls of warriors that died but were unable to go rest peacefully. And he gave them a second chance to die honorably in combat. Well, have one final battle. And all these returned dead were the people who faced the Guild Lords. 3 angel princes. Well, when they met in Last Hope, there was a lot of fighting, and at this point, Devados made a move on Leosk and brought him to tricked him and put him into a pocket dimension where he disconnected to Tantalar, making him a lot weaker than he was, and imprisoned him in that pocket dimension for 15 years. And that's pretty much all he could do. Imprisoning a god is pretty much a miracle myself. So doing it any longer than 15 years was nigh impossible. Anyway, so the army of Hage got in a big fight with Black Female, who thought of all insanity. Were there along with all the honorable dead, the restless dead, fighting against the Blood Lords and warlords, all ogres, all other things. Cathor originally just flew above it with his dragon, breathing fire, destroying the camp. He decided that he needed to end it, rout it, as soon as possible. So he had the dragon crash into Last Hope, and he went after King Krat. While the angel princess dealt with the dragon. And in the end, the angel princess detonated themselves, their ascendant energy, to destroy the dragon, burning it to bones with their energy. And a noble sacrifice. There was no coming back from this. Their existence was gone. So it was like the greatest of sacrifices. When you become ascendant, your soul is your ascendant body. So when they detonated themselves, they destroyed their souls in order to destroy the dragon. And then King Krat faced Cathor, and they fought for a while. Both of them were great warriors. King Krat, through his many years of being the leader of the People's Army, being at the front of the People's Army, leading the charge. He had developed a remarkable finesse and skills with his sword. And Cathor was invincible, immortal creature that had somehow lived from the Dark Ages to this point. And, well, eventually, Cathor brought King Krat down to his knee. King Krat picked up his sword. It glowed. It was channeling the belief that everyone had in him, that he struck Cathor's axe Cathor was using and shattered it, rendering Cathor weaponless. And Cathor saw the sword, and knew that if that actually had hit would strike him, he would die. So he used an unknown dark energy to blast at Ginkarat and fled. Ginkarat was not hurt by the energy, then the sword protected him. And he found that Cathor had left, and Cathor disappeared. They realized, his forces realized that they had been abandoned by their leader and were routed and crushed, although many of them fled and actually into the Silver Pact. So there was an increased amount of goblin activity, orc activity, starting the Fourth Age once this war was over. Because the Third Age was just a war. It was a huge war. I said 10 years fighting. And the Bloodlords many of the Bloodlords were disgraced and actually died on the field. Four more were chosen. 4 new ones were chosen. And Ginkarat was given much recognition with rewards, prestige. He was given land, people's army. Although he didn't really, he was supposed to be his personal army, and it became the base for the people's army. Neutral place for anyone to escape the politics of the kingdoms. I didn't want to end that just talking about Second and Third Age today. I mean, there's a lot to cover. I'll be covering the Fourth to Sixth Age tomorrow.